We all know who Doja Cat is. A triple threat who built her way all the way up from SoundCloud, releasing bops that resulted her in signing with RCA Records. Alternative R&B is what Amala dabbled in, leaving a mark in our minds. She was loved for not being the conventional singer whilst pushing a new sound that's transparent to who she is. Listeners resonate with authenticity, but to what extent? From 2018 onwards, Doja fell into a handful of concerning controversies, ranging from hanging out in chat rooms with right-wing opinionators to racist comments to calling out her fans. But why is it that she still rose to fame? I believe the reason is that Doja showed us who Amala was from the beginning. An experimental artist with a weird, quirky personality who loves to troll her fans. She has built a community of fans who can relate to Doja to the most human level. They will understand how she can slip into wrong places or say the wrong things. They don't see her as this cookie cutter idol celebrity, mouthful, which makes her controversies minimal to surprise. Doja continues on establishing her presence in hip-hop, pop, and R&B, gaining momentum, captivating the mainstream audience with the songs like Say So. Heading mainstream, especially as a Black alternative experimental artist, always leads to being categorized. Being pushed into a box that mostly benefits her label for business rather than the benefit to her artistry. She expresses and liberates herself through her music in ways that pushes social boundaries, especially for mainstream artists. Sharing parts of her creativity through Instagram lives bonded her with her audience, all until she took a moment to shave her hair and her eyebrows. She then created beautiful designs on her eyebrows, feeling free like a blank canvas, but her audience and critics saw otherwise. Demonic, twisted, weird, sad, changed was the minimum descriptions. Compared with the tragic situation of Britney Spears, the media spun their own narrative and created their own web of realities for Doja. Instead of Doja rebutting against the comments like she has before, Doja plays into it. In an interview Doja created and featured in herself, she talks about how Amala would feel about Doja Cat. She says that she used to write from a perspective she thinks the media would eat up. But now she is in another vein of life where she can express herself. Doja smartly played as another character from the concept of her album, which at this segment of Doja's speech, she seemed bored, not listening, and even used the time to have glam touch-ups. This clearly simulates the point Doja is making. No one cares about the authentic, creative, experimental Doja. They always want the hit-making pop star Doja. Continuing down the stems of public opinions, Doja dove into the era of her fourth studio album, Scarlet. She stuns the world with her unforgettable but creative look for the Schiaparelli Couture show that was hosted in Paris, covered in red crystals totaling to 30,000, all in 4 hours and 58 minutes of work. Doja's Inferno made headlines as devilish, as the inspiration were of Dante's 9 Circles of Hell, which is pretty on theme for this era of hate and narrative. I think that this look was the most forward creative Doja has presented. Remember when I said that Doja loves to troll with her fans? Well, she loves to do it more with her haters. 2 days later, she attends another show in Paris, where her face was the center of attention. She had eyelashes on her eyebrows, top of her lip, and one on her chin. She then explains that she worked with a talented designer to achieve that never done before look, and she was met with criticism about not wearing eyelashes, sarcastically stating, "I just want to make people happy." She's hilarious. She's so funny. I left a comment on that TikTok and I was like, she's so hilarious for that, please. So, this brings me on to her Scarlet era. Starting off very strong, we have the release of Paint the Town Red. Vivid imagery detailing demons, the Master of Death, and everything that is symbolic in between. However, her lyrics are quite the opposite to the video. Her main chorus line is, "I don't care, I'll paint the town red." Ooh, she a devil, a bad little bitch, she a rebel. Paint the Town Red, first verse, said, "All my happiness is all of your misery. I look better with no hair. Ain't no sign I can't smoke hair." She is overly expressing that she is the most happy with her change, feeling free and liberated. But because that's not how the world saw and liked her, they took it out on her. She loves her shaved look, whereas fans and critics preferred her in her past eras. That's why they say, "I miss the old Doja." I love how Doja paints pictures with her lyrics. There is no sign that she can't smoke there equals there is no rules in how she would want to dress herself or edit herself, especially now that she has worked her way up to the top, where she has the financial freedom to express herself in any way she pleases. Hidden in between her disses are really deep messages. Money, really all that we feeling for, which shows the industry for what it really is. We would love a person for breaking barriers that is for everyone else, but when they go above and beyond and become that blank canvas to express themselves within multiple ways, it's a problem. It's a problem for the audience, as they only liked Doja when she was singing pop, who they would call normal. But they couldn't stand when Doja was really trying to be different than just a conventional artist. She had more to believe in, more to create and break. This is where Doja Cat stands out to me the most, more than the conventional artists. Artists need to keep their fans interested and invested so that their label can earn money back from what they have given them as a budget in their contract. If their fan base has cracks in it and is no longer siding with them, their label won't be happy. This is where most artists retract themselves. Whether it's something they said or an action that they have done, they would usually put out a statement and then go back into the bubble where they were accepted beforehand. That is puppetry. That is not them being authentic. Instead, Doja played into their criticism and their narratives, so as well as denying their made-up beliefs, she went above and beyond them. She's using shock factor, keeping them upset as she is living as the authentic artist she wants to be, and mocking them, whilst most importantly, raking in the most amount of money she can and keeping her label happy. She fooled y'all while she was telling y'all that she was fooling y'all. This reminds me of the Bangers era, where Miley turned a 360 to break out of the stigma of being a Disney character. She was heavily criticized, specifically by parents, in which they boycotted her so that their children did not engage. It must have been brutal for Miley, but it died out eventually and she went on, being her most authentic self in her artistry. Now, when it comes to Doja, she is a black woman. I know you must be thinking it isn't always about race. It is. It is always about race. It's always about race when it has always been about race. As a black woman, we are taught to work hard but not hard enough where we would go far. Doja has worked her way up, but being a black woman, you are automatically squeezed into a box. Whether that's R&B or pop, they want you in one box. They don't like when you're doing too much. They say that you have to be grateful for being up where you are, even though you'd be controlled and monitored. We talk about artists having their rebellion era and blush over how it was so cool and praising their naughtiness. But when it comes to Doja experimenting, like the artist she always was on SoundCloud, cosplaying as their own narratives, they berate her. She has never once mentioned that she was a Satanist. This really shows how society and the black society outcast black women for being alternative. Doja continues down the album about the rumors, flexing that whilst people are studying whether she is demonic or not, she is on to bigger things, like buying a limousine. A lot of people who are critical of her art says that since her pop releases, Doja now raps. Doja responds with, quote, "Lots of people that were sleeping say I rap now," which simply shows that Doja is quite literally telling critics that she is the same person. Her artistry is no different to what it was before. She is growing and experimenting with her sound and looks. And I quote, "I can't believe how bold you think the line's that thin," end quote. It's almost a rite of passage that every person who is at their peak would be subjected to rumors and allegations of selling their soul. Art is always praised, but when the art starts to question social norms or bring a new perspective, it's always discriminated. 100 Billies, I'm the GOAT, no Eilish. They gon' pirate, they gon' play it, they consume it. If you're scooting, let me know, because that's a comment, that's a view, and that's a rating. That's some hating, that's some engagement I could use. And I could teach y'all how to do this, but I'd much rather be cruising. Need I say more? One of her singles, Attention, addresses the rumors in a more serious tone, rapping in a 90s coded street music video with sensual visual hooks. My highlighted lyrics are, look at me, I'm naked. Vulnerability earned me a lot of bacon, particularly at the part where the instrumental drops out and leaves her words, I'm naked, hanging. The same attention that would make heads turn rapidly to her if she was barely dressed, rather than seeing an artist who was standing in front of you with their heart in their hand. But Doja proves that she is in fact in control of herself and her art. Sure, she was and still is sexualized, but she took that power back and used it within her art as liberation. Y'all follow me, but you don't really care about the music. Again, that goes to the haters who jumped on the bandwagon and never listened to her music and don't know what she's about, just hopping on to the next trending thing or person. This raises the question, how far are artists allowed to go with their arts? How can society as a whole move forward if every single social norm or conventional boundary that is tested gets put under scrutiny? Why is it that an artist who wants to stay authentic and experiment freely, especially if they have the financial freedom to do so, doesn't have the backing of public opinion, but if they were to submit to selling their souls, they become industry plants and also lose the respect of public opinion? You can't win on either side anyways, is basically what I'm saying. Will artists ever truly have full control of themselves and their artistries? Views and engagement is what makes the industry thrive. I understand questions or queries and generally being curious, but that leaves no excuse to bully, mock, or degrade a person when they bring something fresh to the table. Hashtag respect the artist and respect the art. Let me know down in the comments your answers to those questions. There's definitely a fine grey line that breakthrough artists fall in. Stay shining, stay blessed. This is In Between Their Lines, and we will see you next time.